Late Lord Bishop of Canterbury by Jonathan Swift. Written in May 1689, at the desire of the late Lord Bishop of Ely. Truth is eternal, and the Son of Heaven bright effluence of th'immortal ray chief cherub, and chief lamp of that high sacred seven, which guard the throne by night, and are its light by day first of God's darling attributes thou daily seest him face to face, nor does thy essence fixed depend on giddy circumstance of time, or place two foolish guides in every sublunary dance. How shall we find thee then in dark disputes? How shall we search thee in a battle gained, or a weak argument by force maintained? In dagger contests and th'artillery of words for swords, are madmen's tongues, and tongues are madmen's swords, contrived to tire all patience out, and not to satisfy the doubt. Roman 2. But where is even thy image on our earth? For of the person much I fear, since heaven will claim its residence as well as birth, and God himself has said he shall not find it here. For this inferior world is but heaven's dusky shade by dark reverted rays from its reflection made, whence the weak shapes wild and imperfect pass like sunbeams shot at too far distance from a glass, which all the mimic forms express though in strange uncouth postures and uncomely dress. So when Cartesian artists try to solve appearances of sight in its reception to the eye, and catch the living landscape through a scanty light, the figures all inverted show, and colours of a faded hue here a pale shape with upward footstep treads, and men seem walking on their heads, their whole herds suspended lie ready to tumble down into the sky. Such are the ways ill-guided mortals go to judge of things above by things below. Disjointing shapes as in the fairy land of dreams, or images that sink in streams. No wonder then we talk amiss of truth, and what or where it is say muse, for thou if any know'st, since the bright essence fled where haunts the reverend ghost. Roman 3. If all that our weak knowledge titles virtue be high truth, the best resemblance of exalted thee, if a mind fixed to combat fate, with those two powerful swords submission, and humility sounds truly good or truly great, ill may I live, if the good Sancroft in his holy rest in the divinity of retreat be not the brightest pattern earth can show of heaven-born truth below, but foolish man still judges what is best in his own balance false, and light following opinion dark, and blind that vagrant leader of the mind, till honesty and conscience are clear out of sight. Roman 4. And some to be large ciphers in a state pleased with an empty swelling, to be counted great make their minds travel o'er infinity of space, wrapped through the wide expanse of thought, and oft in contradiction's vortex caught, to keep that worthless clod the body in one place. Errors like this did old astronomers misguide, led blindly on by gross philosophy and pride, who like hard masters taught the sun through many a heedless sphere, to run many an eccentric and unthrifty motion, make, and thousand incoherent journeys take, whilst all th'advantage by it got was but to light earth's inconsiderable spot. The herd beneath who see the weathercock of state hung loosely on the church's pinnacle believe it firm, because perhaps the day is mild and still, but when they find it turn with the first blast of fate, by gazing upward giddy grow, and think the church itself does so. Thus fools for being strong and numerous known, suppose the truth like all the world their own, and holy Sancroft's motion quite irregular, appears because 'tis opposite to theirs. In vain then would the muse the multitude advise, whose peevish knowledge thus perversely lies in gathering follies from the wise. Rather put on thy anger, and thy spite, and some kind power for once dispense through the dark mass, the dawn of so much sense to make them understand and feel me when I write the muse, and I no more revenge desire. Each line shall stab, shall blast like daggers, and like fire our Britain land of angels, which of all thy sins, say hapless isle, although it is a bloody list, we know has given the upper dwelling place to fiends. Sin and the plague ever abound in governments too easy and too fruitful ground evils, which a too gentle king too flourishing a spring, and too warm summers bring our British soil, is over rank and breeds among the noblest flowers 1,000 poisonous weeds, and every stinking weed so lofty grows, as if 'twould overshade the royal rose, the glory of our morn, but are too much without a thought. Roman 6. Forgive original mildness, this ill-governed zeal tease all the angry slighted muse can do in the pollution of these days. No province now is left her, but to rail, and poetry has lost the art to praise. Alas, the occasions are so few none ear, but you and your almighty master, with heavenly peace of mind to bear free from our tyrant passions, anger, scorn, or fear, the giddy turns of popular rage, and all the contradictions of a poisoned age. The Son of God, pronounced by the same breath which straight pronounced his death, And though I should but ill be understood in wholly equalling our sin and theirs, and measuring by the scanty thread of wit, what we call holy and great, and just and good methods in talk, whereof our pride and ignorance make use, and which our wild ambition foolishly compares with endless and with infinite yet. Pardon, native Albion, when I say among thy stubborn sons there haunts that spirit of the Jews, that those forsaken wretches who today revile his great ambassador seem to discover what they would have done were his humanity on earth once more to his undoubted Master Heaven's almighty Son. Romans 7. But zeal is weak and ignorant, though wondrous proud, though very turbulent, and very loud the crazy composition shows, like that fantastic medley in the idol's toes, made up of iron mixed with clay. This crumbles into dust, that moulders into rust or melts by the first shower away. Nothing is fixed that mortals see or know, unless, perhaps, some stars above be so, and those alas do show like all transcendent excellence below in both false mediums cheat our sight, and far exalted objects lessen by their height. Thus primitive Sancroft moves too high to be observed by vulgar eye, and rolls the silent year on his own secret regular sphere, and sheds though all unseen his sacred influence here. Roman 8. Kind star, still mayst thou shed thy sacred influence here, or from thy private peaceful orb appear, for sure we want some guide from heaven to show the way which every wandering fool below pretends so perfectly to know, and which for aught I see, and much I fear, the world has wholly missed. I mean the way which leads to Christ. Mistaken idiots, see how giddily they run, led blindly on by avarice and pride. What mighty numbers follow them, each fond of erring with his guide, some whom ambition drives seek heaven's high sun in Caesar's court, or in Jerusalem; others, ignorantly wise among proud doctors and disputing Pharisees. What could the sages gain, but unbelieving scorn? Their faith was so uncourtly, when they said that heaven's high son was in a village born, that the world's Saviour had been in a vile manger laid, and fostered in a wretched inn. Roman 9. Necessity, thou tyrant conscience of the great, say, why the church is still led blindfold by the state, why should the first be ruined, and laid waste to mend dilapidations in the last? And yet the world, whose eyes are on our mighty prince, thinks heaven has cancelled all our sins, and that his subjects share his happy influence. Follow the model close, for so I am sure they should, but wicked kings draw more examples than the good and divine Sancroft. Weary with the weight of a declining church by faction, her worst foe oppressed, finding the mitre almost grown a load as heavy as the crown, wisely retreated to his heavenly rest. X. May no unkind earthquake of the state, nor hurricano from the crown, disturb the present mitre, as that fearful storm of late, which in its dusky march along the plain swept up whole churches, as it list wrapped in a whirlwind, and a mist like that prophetic tempest in the virgin rain, and swallowed them at last, or flung them down. Such were the storms good Sancroft long has borne. The mitre which his sacred head has worn was like his master's crown enwreathed with thorn. Death's sting is swallowed up in victory at last, the bitter cup is from him passed. Fortune in both extremes, though blasts from contrariety of winds, yet to firm heavenly minds is but one thing under two different names, and even the sharpest eye that has the prospect seen confesses ignorance to judge between, and must to human reasoning opposite conclude, to point out which is moderation, which is fortitude. Thus Sancroft in the exaltation of retreat shows lustre, that was shaded in his seat short glimmerings of the prelate glorified, which the disguise of greatness only served to hide. Why should the sun, alas, be proud to lodge behind a golden cloud? Though fringed with evening gold the cloud appears so gay, 'tis but a low-born vapour kindled by a ray at length 'tis overblown, and past puffed by the people's spiteful blast. The dazzling glory dims their prostituted sight, no deflowered eye can face the naked light, yet does this high perfection well proceed from strength of its own native seed. This wilderness, the world like that poetic wood of old, bears one and but one branch of gold, where the blessed spirit lodges like the dove, and which to heavenly soil transplanted, will improve to be as 'twas below the brightest plant above. For, whate'er theologic levellers dream, there are degrees above, I know as well as here below. The goddess Muse herself has told me so, where high patrician souls dressed heavenly gay sit clad in lawn of purer, woven day. There some high-spirited throne to Sancroft shall be given in the metropolis of heaven, chief of the mitred saints, and from archprelate here translated to archangel there. Roman 12. Since happy saint, since it has been of late either our blindness or our fate to lose the providence of thy cares, pity a miserable church's tears, that begs the powerful blessing of thy prayers. Some angels say, what were the nation's crimes that sent these wild reformers to our times? say what their senseless malice meant to tear religion's lovely face, strip her of every ornament, and grace in striving to wash off th' imaginary paint. Religion now does on her deathbed lie heartsick of a high fever and consuming atrophy, how the physicians swarm to show their mortal skill, and by their college arts methodically kill reformers and physicians differ, but in name one end in both and the design the same. Cordials are in their talk while all they mean is but the patient's death, and gain check in thy satire, angry muse, or a more worthy subject choose. Let not the outcasts of an outcast age provoke the honor of my muse's rage, nor be thy mighty spirit rayest, since heaven and Cato both are pleased. The rest of the poem is lost. Footnote 1. Born Jan 161,617, died 1693. For his life see Dictionary of National Biography, W.E.B.